I feel like my life's work is to basically try and solve one problem, which is the entropy of my own disposition. I feel like my default mode, the way that I would be if I just was unchecked, is extreme inaction. And I think that inaction is a form of a slow death. I do think that I have this natural disposition to do nothing. And every day I wake up, and the gravity on how strongly I am pulled to do nothing is different. I just have to roll. I just roll a d20 and see how strong the gravity is that day. And some days it's totally easy, and other days it's much harder. And I find that this natural inclination for inaction is extremely tiring to fight against. And on some days, it's hard to fight against, and other days, it's really easy. And I think that this is my chronic battle. And if I was to be cured of this disposition of inaction, that I would be unstoppable. That is the one thing that I wake up every day and feel like I need to fight, is how much can I do given I'm being pulled back by this natural inclination to do less and do nothing. It's not do less, it's do nothing. And I sort of feel like I have to negotiate with myself sometimes about, all right. And I don't think it's depression. I don't think it's like a depressive sort of thing. I think what it is what it feels like is, those inflatable games where you're tied to a bungee cord and you have to run on the inflatable thing at like fairgrounds, and you have to run and try and grab something at the end of the runway before the bungee cord pulls you back. That's what it feels like. It feels like I'm on that bungee cord. And while I want to go this way, there's this bungee cord, which is this disposition of my life, which is just like, what if we just did nothing? And it just pulls me back. And it's not a conscious thought. It's a completely unconscious habit in all ways, in all areas of my life, which is extremely annoying. It's frustrating. And that inaction, the disposition of inaction, feels like the only real problem in my life. I'm always frustrated by why I chose to do nothing. Like, it's so annoying. But it doesn't feel like a choice. It feels like I have to choose to do something, which I guess is sort of circular. But I have to choose to do something, and it feels like the natural choice is to do nothing, which is extremely frustrating because I feel like I know people whose natural disposition drives them to do stuff. I think they would feel unsettled if they had to do nothing. Or not even unsettled, but it just feels like they wake up and go, all right, what are we doing today? Whereas I wake up and go, all right, how do I negotiate with this inclination to do nothing? And I feel like if I was to be cured of this one ailment, I could really just go. And that's kind of the thing I'm realizing, is that is the core of the problem that I am trying to solve. I think for most of my life, I've had this disposition, and I've kind of just coasted. I've never really tried to do it and see how far I could go, because I just kind of say, how little can I do in order to coast by? And this year is about, it's my yearly theme. It's sort of in direct opposition of this disposition. It's trying to create a new disposition for myself, which is one that I can default to doing stuff, defaulting to action. But I think this is what the speed without deadlines idea is all about. It's about I think there is a flip. There's like a step change that happens with speed, which is I feel like I leave the gravitational force field of inaction, and I reach escape velocity when I reach a certain speed of work. And then when I slow down a little bit, it's not just that the slowdown doesn't happen linearly. If I slow down a little bit, I'm the gravitational force of doing nothing sort of catches up with me, and I fall into the trap of doing nothing. Kind of happened to me today, in that Sundays it's like it's kind of chill, there's not much to do, and the speed at which I run my week is so enthralling and so fun, but it also gets me out of the gravitational pull of doing nothing, and I get to operate at a speed that feels like there's real momentum, and then it really just slows down to Sunday, and then I feel really like, oh, what if I just did absolutely nothing? So there's some things in here that I will probably examine when I rewatch my videos, which I do often just to try to understand my own thinking and what I was thinking on the specific day that I filmed. But that is kind of my life's work. I feel like if I was to solve this problem, everything else would be easy. And maybe this is just the human condition. I don't know. Maybe everyone else is also fighting the disposition of inaction, but they just do it from my perspective seamlessly or successfully from the outside. Maybe people think that my disposition of inaction is seamless as well, but who knows? The other thing is I've been messing around with the settings on the compressor on my mic in order to try and figure out whether or not this mic is just really bad, which surely it's not, or if the settings on the mixer were just terrible. So maybe you can hear a difference, maybe you can't. Shmeep.